Hi guys, Black here. I want to tell you all what's going on with the truck at work. Okay. First of all, I'm supposed to be getting a new truck. They told me the end of November. It might change. Okay, my truck runs fine. All right, little background. I got this truck new, I think it was April 2016. It had 19 miles on it. Okay, it's a 2016 Freightliner Cascadia. It's got the 14.8 liter inline six Detroit. I call it the airplane engine because it's got like a whole bunch of not wires, but hoses running down the side of the engine. But anyway, the engine has ran fine. Unbelievably, it hasn't used much oil. I think I had to put oil. Actually, I did. Okay, I had to put oil in it one time. The very last time I had them to put oil in it, I got a letter that night when I got home to drop it off for a PM. So if they had sent me that letter earlier, I wouldn't have had to put oil in that time. I would have just took it in for a PM. But anyway, the engine didn't use much oil. Right? They fill it up, they change the oil. I didn't have to put no more oil in until it was time to change oil again. But anyway, the truck had 400. Well, the truck has 400 and I think 432,000 miles. The last time I checked, 432,000 miles. No one has driven this truck but me. I haven't put any fuel additive in it. I mean, no kind of additive at all. I'm the only person put fuel in this truck. And so it hasn't had any additive, hadn't had any injector problems. You know, people claim that because of the new low sulfur diesel fuel, it doesn't have as much lubrication in it, and you have to put an additive in there or you're going to mess up your injectors. I told you guys a long time ago that was 100% bullcrap. This truck proves it. The truck before this was a 2010 Freightliner, had a 15 liter Cummins. I got it with like 1,500 miles. I took it up to 535,000 miles before I turned it in. Never put any kind of additive in it. The truck before that was a 2004 Freightliner. Now I got it used with like 330 some thousand miles, and I took it up to about 635,000 miles, running nothing but diesel fuel. I like to keep records of stuff like this. I just like to look back over it. I got the truck April 18, 2016. First problem, 4.5 months later, the engine stopped at 35,480 miles. I don't remember what the problem was. It was, when I first got the truck, they had a bunch of problems with sensors. Okay, the engine stopped again about a month later at 43,000 miles. 49,000, about a month later, they said they cleaned the exhaust cleaned it, whatever the hell that meant. The light came on 20 miles later. Okay, the engine shut down in December. When I first got the truck, it was having a bunch of problems when I first got it. The next day, they cleaned soot from sensor. So then, this is still the first year, another check engine light. I had a part regen, check engine light. 3 days later, 4 days later, check engine light. The next year, check engine light. I remember it just kept getting check engine light. They kept taking it in. They kept doing whatever. You know, I asked them, did you fix the thing? They said, no, we just cleared the code. We don't know what's wrong with the truck. They kept saying they didn't know what was wrong with the truck. And I'm like, wow, man. Wow, you guys are supposed to be mechanics, right? Well, anyway, a year later, I had a left tire blew out at 99,000. It was the first time. check engine light, engine stopped. A little more than a year later, check engine light. Man, like I said, it was just kept having check engine light at first. They said every time new technology comes out, they have problems with it, right? But anyway, left drive, that was a tire. I had to stop regen at 220,000 miles. Check engine light. I guess it's still on check engine lights, right? They cleaned the bump filter, 246,000 miles. I broke the drive shaft at 273,000 miles last year up in freaking Ohio. Basically what happened, I was a little too aggressive with the clutch and I came up off of it and it popped the drive shaft. Those engines produce a lot of torque at idle. So if you come off the clutch too hard, you will break something. But basically, I had was check engine lights. Had a water hose blew. Refrigerator had to be replaced. You know, lights mainly. Some lights, a left light bulb, right light bulb, left front tire, check engine light, 313,000 miles. Knock sensor replaced. It was mainly the exhaust, that emission stuff that kept messing up the truck. Had a plain check engine light, 357, plain check engine light at 350. I don't know how they got backwards. Plain check engine light at 367. Okay, that truck has 3 check engine lights. You have a yellow check engine light, which I call it a plain check engine light. You have, just like the silhouette of an engine. Then you have another yellow check engine light that actually says, I think it actually says check engine light, I think. And then you have a red check engine light. And the red, when you get a red check engine light, you gotta stop. Yeah, it's getting ready to stop. But yeah, it's got 3 different check engine lights, 3 different levels or whatever. But you know, if it wasn't for the emission stuff, the truck wouldn't really have problems, you know. Otherwise. But anyway, the thing I want to talk about is what happened last week. Now, again, the truck has like 430,000 miles, okay? I haven't had any problem with the transmission, the clutch, anything. It's a manual transmission, 10-speed. Okay, the clutch, Freightliners, the clutch has always been light. It's light like a car. Light, that's how light it is. Even though I don't use the clutch, I enjoy that light clutch, you know, because when I have to use it, it's light. Well, I complained about a clutch brake being bad a few weeks ago. Okay, a clutch brake. What is a clutch brake? Real simple. When you sit at a red light, legally we're supposed to sit in gear with our foot holding the clutch, but very few people do that, all right? Very few people. Well, anyway, when the light turns green, you push in the clutch and you push the clutch. Okay, from what they tell me, a truck transmission have really, really heavy gears. Okay, so when you at idle, those big old heavy gears are spinning. When you push in the clutch, those big old heavy gears are still spinning. You have to get them to come to a stop before you can put it in gear. So you push the clutch all the way to the floor and it turns on the clutch brake. And what it does is it stops those big old gears from turning, and then you can put it in gear. Now, when you're moving, you don't push it all the way to the floor. You don't use the clutch brake. You only use that for when you standing still. Well, my clutch brake had gotten where you push it all the way to the floor and the damn gears would keep grinding because I guess the brake was bad or whatever. I take it in and I tell them to fix the clutch brake or adjust it or whatever they have to do. They didn't do anything. The exact same thing was doing before. So I'm like, okay, whatever. So about a week later, the maintenance lady called me and she's like, they need you to drop your truck off. They're going to put a new clutch in your truck. And I'm like, what do they need to put a new clutch? They got to put a new clutch in there to fix the clutch brake. And I just couldn't believe that they was going to put a whole new clutch in there just to fix the clutch brake. I mean, that's the only problem I had with it. She tells me, well, they said your clutch is worn out and it could go out at any time. And I'm like, my clutch works fine. It doesn't slip. I mean, what are they talking about? It's going out. I haven't had any problem with my clutch. Well, I will admit the clutch is not as responsive as it used to be. Now, what I mean by responsive is when you sit at a light and you come up off the clutch, it used to be a time you had to be careful because the clutch would grab and the truck would jump. Well, now when you come off the clutch, it doesn't really jump. It just pull off, but it's not slipping. I haven't had any problem with it slipping at all. Well, anyway, I take the truck in and I'm like, normally when this company fix stuff that really don't need to be fixed, they usually mess something up. But, it ain't my truck, it's their truck. I'm just a dumb driver, so I have to do what they tell me to do. I take the truck in, they put a brand new clutch in it. A brand new cheap clutch. There's two reasons I know the clutch is cheap. First of all, the clutch is stiff as hell. So why is the clutch stiff? You guys have heard of multi-disc clutches, right? So what is a multi-disc clutch? That's when you have more than one clutch disc. You can have 2, you can have 3, you can have 4, you can have 5. I've heard of 5 clutches before. This clutch, these trucks usually have about 2. Okay. When you have 2 clutch discs, the spring, the pressure plate don't have to be as stiff because the pressure is being divided by 2 clutches. So the springs don't have to be as stiff. When you take out a dual clutch and you put in a single clutch, the pressure plate has to be really, really stiff because all of that torque is going through one clutch disc. And to keep it from slipping, they have to put a lot of pressure on it. This makes the driver foot pedal really, really stiff. Now, my old truck was an International. It had a cheap single disc clutch and it had a stiff clutch, guys. It had a stiff clutch. And I'm gonna tell you something. I don't want to show y'all my toes, but my left toe, and it's still darker than my right toe. There was a time my left toe was completely black. I'm thinking I got a toe fungus. I go see a podiatrist and he looks at it and he tells me, you don't have a toe fungus, you keep hitting your toe against something. I'm like, I'm not hitting my toe against something. He's like, yes, you are. And I'm like, no, I'm not. So he says, well, maybe you sleepwalking and you're hitting your toe on furniture or something. I'm like, dude, I don't sleepwalk and I'm not hitting my toe on anything. Well, sometime later, he gave me this cream that was supposed to get rid of the fungus and it really didn't seem to help at all. This toe was still black. Also, it was also a pain, a pain that felt like my toenail was being jammed in or something. So I go back and he looks at it again and he says, dude, whatever you jamming your toe against, you need to stop it. Until you stop jamming your toe is not going to go back to the normal color. So I'm thinking, this guy is crazy. I'm not jamming. What is he talking about? Turns out what is happening is because that clutch is so stiff, when I push down on the clutch, my foot actually slides forward in my shoe and it jams my big toe against the corner of the shoe. That's the reason why my toe was sore and that's the reason why my toe turned black, because of that stiff clutch. When I got rid of the International and they gave me the Freightliner, remember I said the clutch was really, really light? How about my left toe is almost back to normal, almost. I'm afraid that this stiff clutch they got in there now is going to turn my toe back black. I'm not going to let that happen. I'm not going to let that happen, because of somebody sitting in the damn office decide they want to save some money at the expense of the driver. I mean, legitimately, I have a problem with a stiff clutch. Yesterday, I was walking around and my knee was sore yesterday. Why do you think my knee is sore? The stiff clutch. And there's one little thing I want to add. Remember I complained about the truck having a bad clutch brake? The clutch brake is even worse now. It's even worse now. I don't know. It's like it's not even there. It's not even there. You step on the clutch and you have to sit there and da 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 before the damn gears stop turning. Or the clutch brake don't work. Now why is all this? Because of somebody sitting behind a desk wants to save some money. It's Black. Y'all have a good day.